So we've been really disturbed to find out that over the last decade, the sales of children's bicycles have dropped by 22%. We are concerned primarily because the fact that less children are cycling is a concern for their levels of just generally getting about independently and physical activity. So we're using that as a proxy for physical inactivity. We know, talking to the Heart Foundation and other health experts, that there is almost a crisis of physical inactivity, with very, very large proportions of our children not active enough for their own good health. The outcome is working on a draft strategic approach to physical activity nationally, and it's all of the preventative health experts in Australia getting together around the table to discuss that. So we're not exactly sure. Certainly at the Australian Cycling Promotion Foundation, we believe that many of the infrastructure investment programs need to recognise the co-benefits, the additional benefits when you create infrastructure that people walking and cycling can use as well as driving. So there are many processes underway currently to look at that. So investment in infrastructure is a key thing. We know that separation makes cycling safer, and when it is safer, we know that there is a huge pent-up demand to be more active and for more people to ride bikes, including parents letting their children ride to school. So not only do we want bicycle education nationally consistent across Australia, conducted, and all kids in the 9 and 10 age bracket or thereabouts being trained to be safer when they're riding, we also want the physical bikeways and access into schools to be improved so that parents can see little Johnny or little Jane is going to be safer and can independently ride to school. So we know when, if we talk about just children, we know that when children are physically active, they learn better. So there's a future productivity benefit. We know that around schools, 25% of the peak hour traffic is parents taking kids to school. 30 years ago, 70 to 80% of all of our children walked and rode to school. Now it's the opposite. Now 2/3 or more, 60+% of children are driven to school, and correspondingly many fewer are walking and cycling. So we've had this about-face complete negative change that is to the detriment of the future health and well-being of all Australian children. So we how we are addressing that with the federal government is we are giving them economic productivity arguments. We are, reinforcing all of the ways that their investment to make people more active, whether it's better communities, whether it's changing the way they build roads so that there are the other modes that get built at the same time. We know that if the federal government does that, they will get many times the benefit. You know, the cost benefit for every dollar they spend on cycleways, it's worth between $4 and $20 in economic benefit if you count in all the health, the community, the environment, the pollution, the noise benefits. So that's our big push to federal government. Schools are in a really difficult position. They have enormous pressure on them just to get through the curriculum. So whatever we do with schools, we have to make it super easy for them to say yes. We have to provide them the resources. We have to provide, tell them and demonstrate how it can be done easily and simply. I think it is an enormously difficult job for schools to take on anything else. So we're going to have to find ways to deliver programs and to work with PNCs and with the school councils and with the headmasters and the teachers and the parents to show them, and it might be on a case-by-case basis, but there's so much that can be done so easily. There are many great programs. We need to have a national approach and really tell the story about how great this would be for them.
Hi, I'm Trevor Shilton. I'm the Heart Foundation's national spokesperson on physical activity. Well, I think the important thing to say right up front is Australia is suffering an inactivity crisis. Our children, our adults, across the lifespan, we are less active than we need to be. We've just completed some new research at the Heart Foundation showing only 20% of adults meeting physical activity guidelines, and alarmingly as little as 7% of children meeting physical activity guidelines. So this is what's will drive in the future heart disease, diabetes, obesity, hypertension. It's a very important risk factor, and declining levels of physical activity are a big concern for the future health of our children.
There's a report that came out of America a little while ago saying that this is the first generation that we're going to see that are going to be outlived by their parents.
I've been asked that before, and people say, is that overstating things? Well, no, it's not. If you look at the impact of inactivity and consequent hypertension and obesity on cardiovascular disease and diabetes and the real epidemics that are affecting Australia and the world at the moment, it's not overstating things to say that we may have a generation of kids that will not live as long as their parents did. I mean, stopping children from getting out and about, having fun, dare I say it, taking risks and learning in the process is part of the problem here. Now, whether that's not allowing children outdoors, not allowing children access to recreation facilities, preventing them from walking and cycling, we're inadvertently in this bubble wrap that we're putting our kids in, causing them harm. If you look at what dominates their recreation time now, it's interacting with screens. And you'll appreciate, of course, that's not just a physical health issue, that has a social dimension as well, interacting with screens instead of interacting with other children. Let them get out, let them play, let them learn the skills that comes from doing that, and let them have their health benefit. I think children need a well-rounded education, so that includes physical education, it includes fitness, and of course it includes maths and reading and the other subject areas in a school. What's little known about the physical activity research with kids is that fit and active kids are better learners. We always knew that, our grandmothers told that. Be active and you'll be better at your schoolwork, but the evidence now is very much pointing in that direction. So it's not a matter of either or. I mean, a well-rounded education is one that includes physical education and children being physically active. In relation to the broader issues of cycling at school and walking and cycling to school, if we're going to turn this around, it requires a whole of community effort. So that means schools, it means governments, it means the people who build the environment and make it safe or inaccessible. It also means parents in the general community and the media. So we all have a role to play, and we can find numerous examples of how it can be better here and how it can be better there. But what it needs is a comprehensive approach. As parents, there are little things we can do. I was just reading something recently about what people buy as gifts, and we know that bicycle sales are going down. And it's not difficult at a birthday time or when you're looking at what to put under the Christmas tree to think about boogie boards and bathers and bats and balls and bicycles, and they're just the ones that begin with B. And it's not always about buying your child another screen that they can sit in front of and be sedentary. There's a whole range of reasons why physical activity levels are low and declining. It's very alarming to the Heart Foundation to hear that as little as 7% of our children are active enough to have a health benefit. So that means doing an hour a day. So it's as little as 7%. And that will drive future obesity, it will drive future heart disease and chronic disease. So we need to pull together as a community and think about the education that we need to do, the environment that we need to build for our kids, and making our society more conducive to people choosing to cycle and choosing to walk and choosing to be healthy.
For a moment I'm going to take off my parliamentarian's hat, my leader of the Labor hat, and just talk about as a parent. There are so many challenges to make sure that kids exercise and are healthy and active. Screen, social media. I know that there is a generation, not just of kids, but of their parents who want to see their kids doing more. So I'm very concerned to see the numbers of children and bikes declining. We need to get the kids out of the house, out of the screens, and out exercising. The benefits of a healthy lifestyle in those young years is a scholarship the kids will carry their whole life if we do it right.